So today I'm going to be talking about Alice Madness Returns, a pretty fantastic game as a concept. It really should have stayed as a concept.
Sock, sock Mike.
But anyway, hi, welcome to the video.
Okay, I know I just said that Alice Madness Returns should stay as a concept. Hear me out for a second. It's a great game. Visually, aesthetically pleasing. It has iconic characters from the franchise, and it has this beautiful, beautiful world building and world scenery. But playing the game on stream, you can see my face just not enjoy it. You can hear me not enjoy it. And the reason for that is because it's a very repetitive game. Before I get into the details of Alice Madness Returns, and before I go a bit more in depth, let's talk about the main source, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is a story about a young girl who follows a white rabbit into a rabbit hole. She falls down and she's magically transported into Wonderland. Here in Wonderland, she will suffer some events that really, really, really define her as a character, and it makes her, well, question her reality. I'll go through the story really quickly. Once Alice falls through the rabbit hole, she finds herself with a three-legged table where she sees a potion that says, "Drink me." This is the first interaction she'll have with Wonderland and, well, how the world works. Quick little note, I do want to mention this is such a great story for children and for young adults and for adults. And there's this little moment here when she's about to drink the potion where it says, like, oh, and Alice says she checked the potion to see if it's not poison. And it's one of those things where you realize, oh, this is definitely an adult telling a kid a story, because it's a cautionary tale to not drink stuff you find on a table. Kids, do not drink random liquids you find on a table. It could be bleach. We don't need the Tide Pods epidemic all over again. Don't drink bleach. Don't drink random stuff. Even if after that, Alice, well, drinks the potion because it is a kid's story and it needs to move on. She shrinks and finds a cake that says, "Eat me." So the same thing happens and she grows big. All of this because she wanted to get through a door. She can't get through the door because she's really big. So the white rabbit tries to help, but because Alice is crying, well, the tears are like giant water bombs. She cries so much. She literally cries, not a river, a sea. The white rabbit, scared from the tears, drops a fan and a glove. Alice grabs the fan, starts fanning herself. Turns out the fan, oops, magical, and starts shrinking again. But there's already a sea of tears, so she uses the glove as a sort of makeshift boat. She washes up to shore, and here's where she encounters the first little, like, critters from Wonderland. They all are trying to find a way on how to dry themselves. So they make up this idea, you know what? Let's play a game and let's make it a competition. Everybody start running. So they start just going at it. They start just going in a circle over and over and over again. To this, everybody just suddenly says, "Stop." They never made any rules. So they start questioning, well, who's the winner? What do we win? And Alice says, well, I guess we're all winners. Okay, so where are our prizes? So Alice has to make up like prizes on the spot and a prize for herself as well. Ultimately, Alice ends up scaring the animals because Alice starts talking about her cat and Dina and her dog. So the critters are, oh my god, a cat and a dog? They just run away. Alice then ventures forth into the woods. Alice then ventures into the woods and finds the white rabbit. But because she's still very small, the white rabbit doesn't recognize her. So the white rabbit tells Alice to go to his home and pick up a few stuff. Alice goes to the white rabbit's home, finds another cake, and thinks, maybe this will make me back to my normal size. Eats it. Whoops. Ate too much. She's huge, and I mean huge. An arm going out the window, a leg going out the door, her face on a window where you can only see one eye. Very descriptive for a child's book. The people around her start to get scared. They think it's a monster inside the house. They don't know it's Alice. So they start throwing rocks. Rocks which later turn into small cakes. Cakes that Alice will eventually, again, eat and grow tiny. So tiny that a dog starts chasing her, making her once again run into the woods. I'm gonna skip a character. This character is like a sort of chef with a baby. It's a woman, and this guy with a chef. It's a very, very weird interaction, but for the purpose of time, I'm just gonna skip it. Alice runs into the woods once again, and well, skipping this character, she later finds an iconic character from the series, which is the caterpillar. A caterpillar while smoking a hookah, because why not? The caterpillar then asks Alice, well, who are you? There's a whole dialogue sequence, but no matter the answer that Alice gives, the caterpillar will always have retaliation, or will always say, that's not quite right. Keep this in mind. After that whole interaction, the caterpillar tells Alice, well, you know, this mushroom that I've been sitting on this entire time, yeah, well, one side, if you bite it, it makes you big. The other side, if you bite it, it makes you small. Alice sees this, says, well, perfect, and tries to eat and balance herself out to grow back to her normal size. Again, there's this very little detail hint that says, yes, I am back to being Alice. After this, she meets the Cheshire Cat, also very important character, and she later on ventures forth towards the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter, the Dormouse, and the Hare. These three characters are sitting on a long table having tea time. Alice then decides to join them for tea time and realizes, or discovers actually, that the Mad Hatter is cursed by the Red Queen. The Mad Hatter is cursed by the Red Queen to always, always, always be on tea time. So, whenever an hour passes, all they do is just stand up and take the seat next to them on this long table. That's why there's only 3 people, but a bunch of empty spaces. They just move right along. And it's tea time all over again. Alice doesn't understand this. She doesn't comprehend. It's like too many things happening at once. So Alice eventually gets frustrated. She also gets frustrated from the Mad Hatter's answers. So she just says, you know what? Stands up, starts leaving, and quote says, "This is the stupidest tea party I've ever been to." After this, she finds a random door in the forest, which leads to the Red Queen, another iconic character, because everybody knows it. Off with their heads. Alice doesn't stumble into the Red Queen first. She stumbles into 3 guards that are cards painting white roses red. They screwed up. It was supposed to be a red rose tree, but instead it was a white rose tree. So they're trying to, well, cover their asses in a way. Once the Red Queen comes, she sort of grows fond of Alice and decides to play a game of croquet with her. The only issue is the balls are hedgehogs and the sticks for croquet are flamingos. Alice tries to play croquet with the hedgehog and the flamingos, and it just doesn't work. All right. The flamingo is like not staying stiff, and the hedgehog doesn't give a crap and just walks away. But honestly, I mean, who can blame them, right? I'd probably do the same. But for the Red Queen, it's different. The threat of cutting off your head, I mean, I think that's plenty incentive to let the queen win. The Red Queen hates the Cheshire Cat, and there's this really funny moment where the Cheshire Cat pisses off the Red Queen. So the Red Queen says, "Off with his head." And it starts this entire debate of, well, can you cut the head off of something that's just a head? Does a body need a head for the head to be cut off? Or does a head need a body for the body to cut off? Or is the head already cut off? So it's just a funny little debate that they have. But there's an important character here that I don't remember being in the Alice animated movie, the original animated movie, and it surprises me a lot because it is in the games we're about to talk to later. The Mock Turtle, the Griffin, and the Mock Turtle. These two characters are in the games we're going to talk about, but in the book, they're characters that, again, only appear for one chapter. Mock Turtle, the Mock Turtle kind of is, and I'll tell you why in a bit. So the queen wants Mock Turtle soup and sends Alice to go for the Mock Turtle, so Alice asks for a ride from the Griffin, so the Griffin takes Alice to the Mock Turtle. They don't kill the Mock Turtle or anything, they just end up having a conversation, but a really funny one, and once again, a very interesting one. Alice and the Mock Turtle start talking about classes and like the lessons that they take. And Alice says, like, oh, I'm in school and I take math, I take history, and the Mock Turtle immediately goes, oh, I take those classes too. But my school is better because I take those classes underwater. So underwater school is actually very great and very good. Also implying that, well, underwater school is better than whatever education Alice has. Alice is trying to defend herself in a way where, my education is also good. Why is my education not valid? Well, do you have cleaning class? And Alice is like, no, I don't really remember a cleaning class. So the Mock Turtle just hooks onto that and see, underwater school is better. We do have a cleaning class. They have this back and forth. I'm pretty sure there's an analogy there somewhere. I couldn't find it, right? In my entire analysis. I found about like the different poems that Alice talks about, which I will like once again get into. But nothing from the song and the lobster that they do. The Griffin also has this really funny quote, which is, well, yeah, they're lessons. They're called lessons because they lesson every day. And that's funny. They don't end up like eating the Mock Turtle. Alice just rides the Griffin back to the Red Queen, where the Red Queen will eventually blame Alice and take Alice to court for a crime she didn't commit and stands trial. And Alice tries to defend herself as best as she can, but obviously can't. Everybody starts chasing her. Alice runs away, and then boom, she wakes up. Yes. One of the first stories, I believe, to have the plot twist. It was all a dream. I'm sure it's not, but yeah, it's one of those. It was all a dream moment. Listen, I know I speed ran the story. I'm just gonna say this. I am not doing it justice right now, but I really, really, really encourage you to go read it for yourself. The reason I'm speed running through this story is because I just want to mention the basic premise and the concept of Alice as a whole, so we can get into talking about the video games, or at least I can get into talking about the video games, right? It is implied and it is said that Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is against didacticism. It is written to go against the current wave or the current like tendency that there would be in some schools and there would be in just life in general in that time. Now, what is didacticism? It's the practice that everything that we do and everything that exists has a why and has a reason, and everything has, well, it's sort of rules. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland goes against every single rule that you can imagine. Wonderland is a place without rules. But it's not only just a place without rules, it's a place that made Alice question her entire existence. There's a point in the story where she's talking with the caterpillar and she recites a poem wrong. She recites a poem about an old man becoming old and how this young person basically tells the old man, well, how have you stayed so young? There's really not much in-depth stuff there. It's just a poem that I'm pretty sure they used to teach in schools at the time. And it was one of the ways to get, I don't know, probably the little girl that Lewis Carroll was telling the story to engaged, or like a cute little reference of the time. Who knows? But Alice says the poem wrong. The caterpillar quickly jumps onto that. No, it is wrong. And Alice shyfully says, you know what? You're right. I know it's wrong. And starts questioning herself. She questions herself and starts thinking, you know what? Maybe I'm not Alice. Maybe I'm this other girl who's dumb, who isn't really good at school. And Alice starts comparing herself to, well, someone else, one of her classmates, specific. Once again, proving that Wonderland, well, doesn't have a set of rules. Wonderland is a place without rules. And Alice is having a hard time with this because all her life she's been following didacticism. She grew up being told that certain things are done certain ways because of certain reasons. And in Wonderland, her entire mental or her entire psyche is being questioned. Her entire reality is being questioned by this place with no rules. Now, one of the main reasons why I love Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is because it's not only a literature piece that goes against didacticism, it is the story of a young girl growing up and having to face the real world by herself. Not only is Wonderland a representation of growing up, well, it's a representation of the psyche and how in your own head you start questioning your own reality. Alice compares herself to someone else. Alice grows big. Alice grows small. She retreats to these like different sizes depending on the issue. And once she questions herself deeply enough, when she questions herself deeply enough with the caterpillar, she bites the mushroom and goes back to her original size. Now she is finally ready, face on this new world, knowing who she is. So this isn't just a story about going against didacticism, like I said. This is someone growing up. And that's why I love classic literature like this. You can read this story as a little kid and you'll think, oh my god, funny creatures, funny moments. It's Wonderland. And then you read it growing up and you go, oh my god, this is me. Right? Really, really great story. Now, once again, I'm not doing it justice. Please, 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 please go read it. Also read Through the Looking Glass. Enough said. Let's get on with the video game. Now that we know the story of where Alice comes from and how this entire franchise came to be, let's talk about Madness Returns. Madness Returns is the sequel to American McGee's Alice, which is a game that came out in the 2000s. American McGee's Alice is the story of this young girl named Alice who had a traumatic experience where her entire house burned down, sadly killing her entire family. That's all we know in this game, and that's how it starts. And we start in Wonderland. We start in Wonderland helping out the different people from the town, and we later find out that the Red Queen wants to destroy Wonderland. So we set off on this adventure helping different characters. We help some gnomes, which the gnomes later help us. We then help the mock turtle get his shell back, because a mock turtle, I can't believe I'm saying it until now, is the combination of a cow and a turtle. And FYI, a griffin, I'm really assuming that you already knew, but a griffin is the head of an eagle with the body of a lion and the wings of an eagle. Right? We help everybody in Wonderland, and then we find out that there's this war between the Red Queen and the White. We see how the White Queen basically gets executed. I think the White King also, and we need to stop the Red Queen, or she's going to completely destroy Wonderland. But before we do that, we have to go through the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter has the Griffin captured, and we need to help the Griffin escape. After that, well, the Jabberwocky is guarding the Red Queen's castle, so we need to take care of the Jabberwocky, and once we take care of the Jabberwocky, we can finally go and fight the Red Queen. Some important things happen here. One really important thing to note is that when you fight the Mad Hatter, or when you're traveling towards fighting the Mad Hatter, you're small, because you had to become small to go to the zone, and the Mad Hatter steps on the White Rabbit, completely killing it, just completely flattens him, and Alice sees this. Once again, here's a very important piece that I want to, once again, a very important moment happens. Alice says the phrase, "Why does everyone important around me die?" Here's why I think American McGee's Alice is such an amazing and original concept. Wonderland, once again, like the original story, is Alice's psyche. But it's not just an external psyche. Oh no, we are inside Alice's head completely. A traumatic experience just happened to Alice and she's retreating to Wonderland. Alright, don't believe me? Well, once we help the Griffin escape the jail cell where the Mad Hatter had him, the Griffin tells us that we need to kill the Jabberwocky with the Jabberwocky's eye, create a staff that's gonna help us take this giant barrier down, protecting the Red Queen's castle. It's a really cool weapon, alright? It's the Jabberwocky's eye on a staff and it's a laser. Really cool. And then we go and fight the Red Queen. Sadly, the Griffin also doesn't make it, sacrifices itself to help kill the Jabberwocky, another important death of someone in Alice's life. And then we finally meet the Red Queen. And the Red Queen is this grotesque, big monster that you have to fight. Not only that, the first interaction that you have with the Red Queen is the Red Queen opens up her mouth, and you know what comes out of her mouth? Alice's face. So this entire time, the only person that was trying to control and get rid of Wonderland was Alice herself. And in a way, you have to fight yourself. The only person you're fighting in Wonderland is yourself, because it is your own psyche. Listen, I know there could be like lots of interpretations, but I think the clear one here is Alice is trying to not get consumed by the trauma. She's trying to not go insane, basically. So she has to fight herself. She has to fight for control of Wonderland, gain her psyche back, gain her strength back, because the only true enemy of Wonderland is Alice herself. This is a prequel to Madness Returns, and this is such an important concept later on for the game. Let's talk about game. It's a 2000s game made in a very old engine now. I mean, it's been 25 years. Feel old. But it stands the test of time. You can play it still through Madness Returns if you have it on Steam. The gameplay, phenomenal. And you get to see American McGee's world building. The entire concept is really good. You fight very original characters and original interpretations of what the original Alice characters were. Not only that, you get a huge array of weapons. Let me list them out for you. The butcher's, the pepper grinder, a deck of cards, the Jack-in-the-Box bomb, dice that if you roll them, a demon gets summoned. What else? You get the Jabberwocky staff, which is basically a giant laser, and you get Caltrops, right? And it's a very simple mechanic. You get to pick and choose which weapon you want, and you have a health bar and you have a mana bar, which regenerates over time. The game is very simple. You platform through a couple of stages, defeat a couple of enemies, some you even have to ignore, and you get to do some boss fights. Really cool, really simple design. Some of them were kind of difficult, I'm not gonna lie. But the enemies, again, the enemies are very original. Props to American McGee. Really good game, really solid gameplay, amazing original story and concept. For me, American McGee's Alice is an 8 out of 10. And that's why it pains me to go into Madness Returns and finally talk about the game this video is about. Like I mentioned before, Madness Returns is a sequel to this game, and it continues the story of, well, Alice and her traumatic experience. Once again, it starts with, well, telling you what happened if you don't remember, and it's the burning of the house where Alice used to live. She's the sole survivor. Her mother, dad, and older sister, all three died. And Alice is now 18 and basically spent her time in an asylum, right? And was seeing this therapist regularly, and is now finally sort of able to go back into society and sort of live a normal life. That is until flashbacks and trauma start coming back, and the opening, like the first cutscene after, you know, moving around Alice, and you can finally see kind of like the real world where Alice lives and where Alice is from. You start seeing this cat which you follow to then go into this trance. I'm guessing she's having some sort of PTSD from, well, this horrible experience, and is starting to gain back some memories. And then this cutscene, she's on a riverboat in Wonderland, and the rabbit is rowing the boat, and suddenly, while talking to Alice, the rabbit's head completely explodes off. A pool of blood
comes covering out Alice and just spews blood all like everywhere. It's very, very grotesque, but it's an incredible scene to kind of set the tone of the game. Or so I thought, because that is such a heavy, hard hitting opening credit scene, and then there's nothing like that. I don't know. Maybe the idea was to not be as edgy, but let's continue on with the story. After this, you're transported into Wonderland, and the Cheshire Cat tells you, "Oh, welcome back, Alice." Everyone or the Cheshire Cat died in the first game, but is somehow back, I guess, because, well, Wonderland was sort of rebuilt, and the Cheshire Cat, well, he likes to play games, so he's back and welcomes Alex back. And you sort of do this platforming tutorial, and you find out that you can shrink on command, which is one of the new things that you can do, and you meet an iconic character, which I intentionally skipped, but it's the big fat lady who had a baby pig, and you get the pepper grinder from her. It's a ranged weapon, and you get the butcher's knife, which is your main melee weapon that you're going to be using for the rest of the game. When you're back in Wonderland, Alice starts questioning like, "Oh, what am I doing back here again?" The Cheshire Cat is like not telling you completely until, well, shit hits the fan, and you realize that there's this massive train just destroying Wonderland completely. It's running through Wonderland, literally destroying everything. You later find out, well, you know what? I need answers. After the events of the train, Alice says, well, you know what? I need answers. You know who might have answers? The Mad Hatter. Let's go looking for him. You go looking for the Mad Hatter and realize that in the first game, since you beat him, well, you now have to reconstruct. So you go off, and the Dormouse and the Hare, which are like the ones that are always with the Mad Hatter, those two are taking revenge on the Mad Hatter because in the original game, the Mad Hatter was torturing them. These two take revenge and are keeping the arms and legs safeguarded by them. You do some platforming, kill some waves of enemies, and you get the arms and legs back. Reconstruct the Mad Hatter, and the Mad Hatter tells you what we kind of already knew. This train is crazy. There's really no stopping it. If you want answers, you have to seek out the caterpillar. The caterpillar might know the answers. So you go off and try to find the caterpillar. Here's something that I started disliking about the game is when you finish helping the Mad Hatter kind of helps you for a bit. Then a cutscene starts playing where it looks like you're gonna fight this giant mech boss piloted by the Dormouse and the Hare. But then suddenly the train comes by, destroying like that section of the world. The Mad Hatter also drops like a pipe, something I can't really remember, on top of the mech. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you don't fight a boss. You just did some platforming and enemy wave killing. Alright, it's the second and third chapter. Yes, it's fine. It's fine. You know what? I'm not gonna get upset by that. They probably had their reasons. It's whatever. Right? Alright. That's the first thing that's different from the first game. Also, wait, what? I only have 4 weapons in total when the first game had 8? So you're taking half my weapons? What happened? You go off looking for the caterpillar, but before you do that, you see the Mock Turtle, and you tell the Mock Turtle, hey, could you give me a ride on your ship, your pirate ship, to the caterpillar? Yes, the Mock Turtle gives you a ride, but the ship kind of crash lands. So now you're in this theater place that's being run by 2 iconic characters that appear in the original animated film, the Walrus and the Carpenter. If you remember from the movie, the Walrus and the Carpenter is a story that's told by Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Sorry, I butchered the names. That tell Alice that, well, you know what, curiosity isn't really that great. You shouldn't be curious. It's its whole thing. But these 2 characters want you to go and save the clams because they need them for a theater play. So you go out and help them. You know what you do to help them? You do some platforming puzzles and you defeat waves of enemies. Once you do that, you get a cutscene where it's, oh, the Walrus and the Carpenter ate the clams that you helped escape. There was never like a play, and it's all Alice's fault. Don't you kind of go hunting for them, and in your hunting for them, you fall into this cocoon where, well, the caterpillar is. Once again, the reason why you fall into this cocoon is because the train arrived to the same place that you were and made Alice fall into it. Once you're in the cocoon, you again traverse, do some platforming, do some puzzles, and you find the caterpillar, which is turning into a butterfly. When the caterpillar turns into a butterfly, guess who's back again? Slim Shady. No, it's not. It's the fucking train. The train followed you all the way here, destroys the cocoon, and now you're trying to, like, escape once again. I haven't mentioned this, but in between every chapter, you get like a little glimpse of what's happening in like the real world with Alice. None of it is really important in my opinion. It's one of those things that it couldn't have happened. You could completely cut everything from the real world except for one scene, which I'll explain later, and the story just feels exactly the same. I'm sorry, but that's just a bit of bad writing in my opinion. And I'm going to make this huge parenthesis here. When you're writing a story, there's two ways to write a story. There's if it's like a movie script, and there's if it's like a series script. If you've watched the series, you understand that what makes the series is not the characters. It's the world and how the characters interact with the world. Take, for example, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones functions in a way where no matter how many characters are killed, how many characters die, the story continues because the world is the same. So when writing a series, you don't really care about the characters. Or what I mean by not caring is you can kill off your characters and your story will continue because your world continue. When making a script for a movie, for example, you want the inverse. Most of the time, there are exceptions to the rule, but when making a script for a movie, you kind of want the inverse. It's not the world that matters, it's the characters that matter. And it also matters the type of fight that the character is going to be doing. It could be man versus machine, man versus man, man versus himself, all types of stuff. But the two things I want you to understand from this are the two types of way to write a story. When I can completely ignore a section of your storytelling, that's what I mean by bad writing. I don't mean that I can take it out and the world continues. I mean that I can just completely ignore and not remember anything, and I can still tell you the story. Does that make sense? Listen, I'm sure there are some exceptions, but hey man, just look up Chekhov's gun, all right? If you're gonna show me something on a piece of media, is because it's relevant, right? It has a deeper meaning. It should. Anyway, I'm going on a rant here. Yap session over. Let's get back to the game. After this encounter with the caterpillar, which is now a butterfly, you travel over to, well, the Red Queen. Because you know who might have answers? The Red Queen. Yeah, the same big ugly monster that you supposedly killed in the first game. Well, she's kind of back in a twisted way. I'll say this. There aren't any boss fights up until now, and when you get to the Red Queen, there is a pseudo boss fight, I'll call it. Or, you know what, fans of Madness Returns, I'll even give you this one. It is a boss fight. Sure. This giant card chases you, and then, but it's basically an auto-scroller. And when you do fight it, you just fight waves of smaller enemies, while the big card that's been chasing you, the boss, is just being annoying. You can't really kill it. The only way you kill it is by growing really, really large and stepping on him. And then you get this cool interactive thing where Alice is like huge, you destroy some towers, you destroy some armies, you finally make it to the Red Queen. And when you make it to the Red Queen basically gives you, I'll say this, she does give you an important monologue. She tells you, once again, something similar to the first game. She tells you, Alice, you're the only one who can stop this because the person who set the train in motion is you. You did it. You are destroying Wonderland. Alice still doesn't know what this means, and in the real world, this sort of makes Alice go into this paranoia and starts remembering her time in the asylum. So now you have this Alice that's completely bald, like head shaven. She's in this
ugly, ugly asylum, and the guards in the asylum, ironically enough, are Tweedledee and Tweedledum, or at least characterizations of them. This is what I mean by this is the only moment where Alice is in the real world that I consider important to the story, because it's a flashback of her in the asylum, and it's actually you having to go through all the lore and everything that happened to Alice in that asylum. When you traverse all these different stages, you're getting your memory back, oh, bit by bit. And during this entire game, the asylum is the last part. By this point, you already know this. You know that someone was in your house that night, that someone started the fire, and that someone went into your sister's room and then came out and locked the door. That's all you know. But when you get to the part of the asylum, you realize, holy shit, this therapist has been abusing children, basically brainwashing them, and it is implied that he brainwashes these children to then human traffic them. Really insane shit. It a complete, not tone change, but the graph is like beginning of the game. Let me do it with this side. Beginning of the game drops and it's just flat, and then ending of the game. You know what I mean? It started off here. The entire game it's here, and then it just goes back up here. All right. You find this out, you realize that it's been years of abuse by this therapist, and then you get the final memory back, which is the therapist is the one that killed your family, burned your house. Not only that, the autopsy report for your sister said that your sister didn't really die from the fire. Your sister was already dead. So what happened? Well, your sister rejected advances from this therapist. This therapist grew mad, and one night sneaks into your house, kills Alice's sister, locks the door, then sets the house on fire. He was so confident in his plan even that he even goes to Alice's room, tells her to be quiet, closes the door, then sets the house on fire and leaves. So easy. Nobody was going to know what happened that night. And even though Alice survived, everyone thought that Alice, in a mischievous way, because she is crazy and she's paranoid, set the fire on herself. Alice for a moment even thought that. But no, it is finally discovered that the entire reason why the train was being set in motion by Alice herself is because the therapist was the one basically telling Alice to destroy Wonderland. And here, I'll give it so many props. The world where Alice finally discovers this is a doll world. Like, everything is dolls. So the therapist basically wanted to make Alice a doll, an empty vessel that he could be able to play around with. Hence the train. The train wants to get rid of Wonderland, what we already established that is Alice's psyche, so that she becomes an empty vessel. So he could say anything that he wants, and Alice would just believe it. It all culminates in a final boss fight, which I'll admit is really cool. You fight this like puppet master, which is the face of the therapist and two hands. Kind of difficult boss fight. And it all culminates with Alice confronting the therapist on the subway. And I can't really remember if she stabs him or just pushes him into the train tracks, or the subway tracks in this case. And, well, Alice basically kills him. And then we have this amazing scenery where the real world starts mixing over with Wonderland, and Alice going out into the distance. Really amazing stuff. Really, really cool. The only issue is, once again, if you have a keen ear, I never said anything about any other boss fights. I never said anything different than you do platform puzzles and you kill waves of enemies. That's it. The closest thing you get are mini boss fights, which aren't even mini boss fights. They're just tutorials for the new enemy that you're going to fight in the new section, new world that you just unlocked. Oh, and weapons. Oh, what happened to weapons? Oh, that's right. Yes, you do only get 4 weapons. The third one you unlock halfway into the story, and the fourth one you unlock at the ending of the game. What? How is it such a downgrade? A game made in 2011, how is it such a downgrade from a game which is already an amazing, outstanding game for its time 11 years ago? How? Now, I don't know if the developers had anything to say, the publisher maybe cut some things out, maybe American McGee for 11 years just forgot. I don't know, but all I can say is it
hurts because Madness Returns is a 3 out of 10 game. There, I said it. I'm sorry. It is. It is. It is. I know it's probably your favorite game, and I know you probably really love it because it is aesthetically pleasing. Or, hey, just like movies, a movie is someone's favorite. Well, just like a video game is someone's favorite. Now, if it's your favorite, I completely understand if it is. But it's going to be your favorite if you like that type of game. Me personally, I don't like when games are too repetitive, or the story doesn't really advance that much, or it doesn't really get harder. I don't know how to explain it. I just felt like the story and the gameplay was dragged too much. Every world became just like changing fonts. Yes, the fonts are very pretty. They're very cool. If you want to talk about the dresses that Alice have and how they represent each world, I could do a whole video about that as well. But sadly, video game just the gameplay is what makes a video game, right? Maybe the story can help. Hideo Kojima is a clear example of how you can combine gameplay and storytelling so well into a franchise and make wonders. Sadly, Madness Returns, comparing it to its predecessor, like comparing it to its prequel, dude. Not even any other game. Comparing Madness Returns to its prequel from 11 years ago. 3 out of 10 game. It's sad. It's sad because earlier I just said American McGee's Alice is an 8 out of 10. How did we drop so much? Unbelievable, dude. Really. It saddens me. And I think it reflects on then like how many sales it got and how popular it actually was because there was going to be a third installment. Sadly, that will never be the case. They completely dropped it, and American McGee basically said, "Hey, yeah, I don't want to do it." Yeah, like, oh yeah, it's so sad because it makes sense. Madness Returns ending is very open to interpretation, and it is a very open ending, which normally implies that there's going to be like a third installment, or at least there's going to be a continuation of the game. Sadly, that's never going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's my review. And if you enjoyed this video,
Leave a like it, like it, like it, like it, like it.
suck Mike.
Suck, Mike.